grab a drink and have a seat. It's time for Drafty After Dark. With your hosts, Russell James and the Howling Wolf.
All right, settle down, everybody. Thank you, Barry, for the introductions. How are you guys doing today?
I am fantastic, baby.
I'm pretty sleepy. I was up all night playing Borderlands.
Which one?
The new one, Borderlands 3.
So what do you think? I mean, like, what is it any good? What part are you at? I'm kind of curious. I was thinking about getting it, but I'm just lazy, and I've never played the first two, but I've heard great things about the third one.
I've always been into Borderlands. Where I'm at, it's hard to say because I'm playing all 4 characters.
Oh. Motherfucker.
Various stages of the game.
Yeah, he took fucking Diablo and said, fuck you, I'll do all of them.
I'm always
I played
like
1
that,
and 2
though.
a lot.
Like, even in Skyrim, like, I had one of every race.
That's very diverse of you.
I just like to see what all the game has to offer.
So, Barry answered the next question. What kind of content are you consuming, Wolf? What did you consume this week?
Well, I actually went home yesterday. I was very tired, and mind moving a million miles an hour, and I was watching Tusk. Oh my gosh,
Okay.
I don't see why everybody hates that movie so much.
Because it's absolutely fucking ridiculous.
Yeah? So was Ernest Scared Stupid. You still watch that?
I against my will.
Oh, don't be that way. No, Tusk is the Canadian version of Human Centipede.
Okay.
Through and through. You know it, I know it. When it comes to people mutilation, you look, the Americans, we have Saul. We have to turn everything into a goddamn game because that's what we are. We're gamers in America.
Yeah.
In Germany, they're engineers. So it's like, well, how can we engineer these people to make one big section of person?
Right, because it's a German scientist and
Yes.
the Human Centipede.
Yes. So in Canada, where, they have all their free health care and, responsible gun laws, what are you going to do? You can't just walk out and start being like, yeah, I'm going to, make a human centipede because that's they're not German. And you can't just be like, well, I'm going to get these 5 people and trap them into like some Saul-style game because, well, that doesn't work either.
Yeah. I watched Shazam and Aquaman this week for the first time.
Any good?
I like Shazam. It was fun. It's not like great.
Yeah, I didn't think it would be.
They did a couple things that I really appreciated. Did you watch it?
No,
Oh,
I didn't
okay.
watch either one of them.
I would recommend watching Shazam. I personally, did you watch Shazam, Barry?
Yeah, it was cool. I didn't know anything about Shazam coming into it, but made me laugh a few times.
Yeah. The Zach Levi plays Chuck in a show called Chuck on TV.
I really
was
like
on
that
TV.
show.
I really liked him. So like when he showed up in the movie, I was engaged. I was ready. I super loved him as portraying an adult person, a kid in an adult person's body.
Yeah.
Especially with the powers. I thought he did fantastic.
That's funny. See, I can never get engaged in a movie. I have commitment issues.
Aquaman was not as fun. I actually fell asleep about halfway through Aquaman. I was pretty bored.
Sounds like an Aquaman movie.
Yeah.
An Aquaman movie would be like the Hulk in the Marvel universe. Why did they make it? Because they had to. Nobody gives a shit. Nobody cares. That's all there is to it. Think of your favorite Aquaman moment if you have one, and I bet you Aquaman just happened to be there.
Yeah. I do enjoy Jason Momoa as Aquaman. I feel like that's some pretty good casting.
Oh yeah, it was a great cast. I mean, hell, the Justice League had a great cast.
Yeah.
It didn't pull the movie together worth a damn, but the
No.
cast was amazing.
No, it did not. All right. I mean, yeah, that's pretty much all I watched this week. All right, let's get into the nitty-gritty. We are here today to talk about Hong Kong and give out some information related to what's going on with Hong Kong. Large-scale protests going on right now. Going to kind of inform you why it's happening and where it started. So I have a timeline of events worked up here. We're going to go all the way back to 1847.
This is going to be like, in 1847, I ain't never seen anything look like that.
And yeah.
1847, wasn't that when they were over here building our railroads for us?
I didn't write anything down as far as association to America, but maybe.
Well, I almost wonder because the 49ers, what they called the gold rush.
Yeah.
So
1847, Hong Kong was ceded to the United Kingdom after the Opium War.
Opium War?
Opium War. Yeah, there's a big Opium War. That is a totally different subject, so we're not going to dive into that. I figured this was a good place to start, though, as far as why Hong Kong is the way it is today.
Well, if it wasn't 2019, I would disagree with you, but since we have our own opium epidemic, this has been a century-long thing, obviously, and international, apparently.
Yeah, opium's a big issue. So then, about 50 years later, in 1898, a deal was struck between Great Britain and China for a 99-year lease for Hong Kong to be a British colony. 99-year lease.
Why would they lease out Hong Kong to the crown, I guess?
Well, it was kind of like a compromise to avoid further war.
They had the wall. Were they just fucking outsourcing everything instead of saying, well, we could use our army, but the Mongolians are closer. Fuck it, just pay them.
So the United Kingdom was already in control of Hong Kong, but China wanted it, and so essentially they agreed upon a 99-year lease. In which case, then it would revert back to being part of China. So that's going to take us all the way 99 years later to 1997. 1997. This wasn't that long ago, and I had no clue about any of this.
Mm-hmm.
So in 1997, after 150 years of British rule in Hong Kong officially became a part of China again, under something called the One Country, Two System. I believe it's a partition. And so what that means is Hong Kong was given back to China, sort of. But we have two systems inside of one country.
Is it like the U.S. has territories, like Puerto Rico or...
Yeah, kind of.
Okay.
So essentially, Hong Kong is allowed to operate independently of China.
Okay.
So it's still part of China, but for the most part, it's operated completely independently of. So, and that gave a lot of power back to the people, essentially. So, like, they have a lot of freedoms in Hong Kong that China doesn't offer its people.
Do they have the? Well, I guess it's the two-child policy now, but it used to be the one-child. I think back in 2013 is when China decided to go from the one-child policy to the two-child policy.
Yeah, because their population was getting lower, and they wanted to maintain one of the world's
It's because the
largest
genders were
population.
off.
Oh, is that why?
Oh, that had a lot to do with it because everybody wanted a son,
Yeah,
so there wasn't a whole lot of daughters.
right.
And since you could only have one child, or the government would come after you either financially or physically, as opposed to, like we have here where you just get litigated to hell and back, but
Yeah,
it'd be like a DUI.
yeah.
You either pay an assload of money or you wind up in jail, or depending on which one you're on, you could do both.
Huh. Okay. No. So Hong Kong's laws are completely separate from China. Hong Kong's laws are a lot closer to ours in America than what they are China's. So it's more of a, it's definitely closer to being like a full democracy than anything of what China is.
Well, I know they always refer to it as communist China.
Yes.
So
China has a communist party.
well, yeah. At the same time, they refer to it as communist China, and
Yeah.
the communists want to stay in power, obviously.
Right.
So how would in the laws we have here, or the system that we have here, is extremely different than what the system we get called here actually has.
Right.
Like, we get called, a democracy. Well, the forefathers wanted a republic. We get called, capitalism, but there's so much state interference from the federal government and the states themselves that you can't even have real capitalism. You have controlled industry.
Right.
So
Very much so.
So it makes you wonder, what type of laws they have set up in Hong Kong. But do they have like a crony capitalist system? Do they have a more social, oligarchy? I mean,
Yeah, it's also a weird mix, but we'll get into that here in a second. So Hong Kong, for the most part, is allowed to remain independent of China. Now, in 2003, protesters successfully stood up against a bill that would have punished speaking out against China. So one of the biggest problems with China is that it is treason to speak out and disagree with China. And we've seen a lot of media get banned in China over making fun of China, essentially.
Yeah.
So that is a freedom that we do enjoy here, being able to speak out against our government and being able to make fun of our president.
Well, the thing is, though, in speaking out here, because the way our laws are set up is, just because you don't go to jail for it doesn't mean that society themselves won't punish you.
Right.
So if you go on TV and, I remember hearing, we'll take Roseanne Barr as a prime example.
Yeah,
Whether
that's a good one.
whether you agreed with what she said or didn't say or whatever, it doesn't matter. She didn't go to jail for it. She didn't pay a fine. The state themselves did not come after her.
Right.
But she lost her show. She lost her job. She lost all. I'm surprised she had that much clout to begin with, but apparently she did, because she had enough to lose. So, I mean, if the thing is here it's more of a societal indoctrination, whereas opposed to China, it's more of the government indoctrination.
Yeah.
Which you could make the argument that, when you have, in China, when you have like the all bad guy, you can be like, well, it's, we all have the same oppressor, essentially.
Yeah.
But here, it's way different. We're oppressed in a different way, in a different light. It'd be like in Star Wars with the rebels going in and being like, no, we gotta get Billy D. Williams to help us blow up the Death Star. And they'd be like, why? And be like, well, because he's black. We have to be diverse.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that as a racist. I'm saying that because the rebels themselves would have ate each other alive had they not had the common enemy of the empire.
Right.
And it makes me wonder if that's the same type of setup that they have in China, because, I mean, we have protests here all the time, but the things that...
Yeah, but we don't protest like... I mean, China has protests too.
Mhm.
Tiananmen Square in '89 is a strong one. A bunch of people died
Well,
due to the protest.
the thing is we also have anti-protesters here.
Yes. So which
That's
is
what
an
I mean
interesting
about
concept.
society eating itself up,
Yeah.
as opposed to having one big empire. To Lando
Right.
Calrissian. Thank you.
Oh yeah, Lando Calrissian.
But-
So since you bring that up, so every year in Hong Kong they have something called a July 1st protest,
Okay.
and it's not necessarily the same thing. It's whatever the people want to stand up against.
So it's like an organized protest?
Yeah, it's an organized protest,
Huh.
and they have it every year. So and whatever they need to have it against that year is what they have it against.
Is it a national holiday there?
I don't think it's considered a national holiday, but it's well respected.
Okay.
From what I could tell, I couldn't see a whole lot of anti-protesting stuff. But a lot of what Hong Kong protests against is more China more involvement from China inside of Hong Kong.
Yeah.
And China's big thing. So in 2003, the Speaking Out Against China, that entire bill they tried to establish that entire bill to stop people from voicing an opinion on whether or not things China was doing was good or bad. Because if they could stop that, then they could start slowly turning more people inside of the Hong Kong border toward becoming even more a part of China.
Well, yeah, it's social engineering. It's thought policing.
Right.
The Catholics were a big fan of that.
Yeah, they were.
It's true, they were. What you thought about that woman? Well, that's a sin.
Yeah. But I love the idea that July 1st, no matter what, there's a protest. And the Civil Rights Committee figures out what they need to protest. I'm sure they like take polls and see what the big issue is.
Well, the thing is okay, so you have one day a year essentially that, everybody goes out and marches in the streets about, whatever's bothering them.
Yeah.
It almost makes you wonder because I've always been a big fan of how to get the outcome.
Mm-hmm.
It's not always, a lot of it is, we all have the same goals, but it's how to get there. So
right.
If they go out and, protest, and they could be like, well, I'll give you a prime one in the U.S. at least, which is probably one of my biggest fears. And I'll go after the education system, just to ballpark it. So you have a lot of presidential candidates, because we're in election year. We have a lot of presidential candidates talking about free college, and everybody loves the idea. Everybody thinks free college is a terrific idea, and we should definitely have it. And yes, and a lot of people are all for it and advocating for it. And I would almost say that's in one of the top 5 of everything that's wrong with this country in a lot of people's opinions. Now, you can agree with it, and that's fine, but it's the basis of how you get there. So is the government going to write a blank check to these universities and further sink us in debt?
Yeah.
Or are they going to start their own universities, and then you only get what the government wants you to learn in and of itself?
Right.
So then you're back to the high school problem.
Either way sounds like a slippery slope.
Well, you have to be very careful how to go about it, because the idea is like, oh yeah, this is a great idea, we should definitely do that, but at what cost?
Yeah.
And I'm not defending the universities. I think they're overpriced too. But why are they overpriced? Because in the 60s they said, hey, college was, I don't know, a couple grand or whatever, and the state's like, you shouldn't have to work a summer job, you should be able to just take out a loan and focus on your studies, and and it kind of jacks the college rate up too. Well, the more people who go, it's the supply and demand thing. The more expensive it gets, and if you have the government flipping the tab for it or making sure the bill gets paid, then what's to stop them from price gouging?
Yeah.
So it makes me wonder if...
Yeah, I mean, they price gouged the fuck out of student loans in the first place. So.
Well, look at the risk, though. Let's say you're a lender, and you have an 18-year-old kid who has nothing...
Right.
Who wants to borrow like 50 grand. They're not buying a house. They're not. They're not buying a car. They're not buying a tangible object you can repo from them.
Yeah, no, I get that. But why does it cost 50 grand in the first place?
Because the university, let's say it seats 2,000 people. All right, and you have 5,000 people trying to apply there. Well, every seat's going to be full. Period.
Yeah.
So, what do you want to do? Because university is a business. So you want to expand your business to be able to hold 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 people. What do you do that? You up spending. Well, how do you up spending? You have to up cost. You have to up cost to pass it on to the consumer.
Yeah.
Now, when they go in for these loans that are, ridiculous to begin with, if they're backed by, it's like the government is your ultimate cosigner. You walk in and say, hey, I don't have anything. I don't have any credit. I really want to go to this school. One day I might have something.
Yeah.
And the government cosigns for it and says, well, if they default on it, which they can't ever do, but the government will pick up the tab and then they'll back it. And it used to be, I think Obama actually got rid of this, because it used to be you go to a private bank, you go to a private credit union, you go to a private lender to get a college loan or a student loan, and it was just backed by the government. Well, Obama said, well, let's just cut out the middleman. Let's just give out loans to students to begin with. Now, all these loans are essentially backed by the taxpayer.
Yeah.
So the thing is you can only ramp yourself up against debt so long until the taxpayer is going to have to pick up the tab, or we're going to have to deal with a lot of inflation.
Yeah.
Which is another tough concept to sell. Now, again, the original idea, great. The original idea is terrific.
Yeah.
Everybody contributes, everybody benefits. It's perfect.
Yeah.
But it's how to go about it. And I think that's one of the situations that you could essentially run into in Hong Kong or China or whatever. The only difference between Hong Kong and China is, like I was said about the empire. In China, they have the empire that they have their common goal. They have their common enemy, if you will, I guess.
Yeah.
In Hong Kong, they don't have that. At least not by my understanding so far.
No, Hong Kong has that. It's still China.
Okay, well, as soon as you take that out of the mix, then what? Then who's going to be their common one? Then they're going to start eating each other like they do here. You're going to start getting a lot of these different groups going. And they're going to start, and your protest day that you're talking about on July 1st, you're going to have anti-protesters. And the anti-protesters of the protesters, it's no different than on the internet, you have the social justice warriors and the trolls.
Yeah, but that's also very cynical, though, to assume that once the large enemy has fallen, that they'll just turn on each other.
Well, you could
if
say
they've spent this long coming together and being a part of something, then that could stay. That could keep happening.
You're right. It could.
And then
but it could.
The continued enemy is just whatever thing they disagree with is happening. Whatever is worse for the people.
The thing is what unites people? A common goal. Well, as soon as you change the common goal or change the...
Right, well, the common goal isn't to take down China and Hong Kong. The
common
goal
of course
is
not. They want their independence.
Yeah, is to ensure their continued independence.
Yeah, I remember hearing about a place about 250 years ago who wanted their own independence from the crown. And you're right. Everybody was united. No, they weren't. Never mind.
Yeah, no.
Everybody wasn't even united then.
Yeah, no, we've had trouble being the United States. We've had trouble being united the entire time we've existed.
So it almost makes you wonder and we learn this because we're in the U.S., how much issue has actually Hong Kong had that we're not hearing about?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there's some of it, but we're also I'll come back to the same thing almost every time on what the problem with the United States is it's our landmass. Like you have smaller governing bodies that are states, and you have one large governing body trying to govern those. But you have to get 50 states on the same page to have a united front.
Well, 50 states with 50 different geological areas.
Yeah.
And 4 different time zones.
There is a lot of land to the United States. And you just travel a couple states over, you see how different the culture is.
Oh, yeah.
And Hong Kong is much smaller. It's not even the size of New York. So, but we'll get into a little bit more detail on that here in a little bit. So let's jump ahead to 2012. The Chinese government attempts to institute a patriotic pro-Chinese education system, and they want Hong Kong to play a part in this. So
I bet that went over well.
Patriotic pro-Chinese education system. No, it did not go over well.
Not shocked.
It failed. 2014, 5 Hong Kong booksellers whose material is sold in mainland China disappear. Just gone.
So what can Hong Kong do about it?
I don't know that Hong Kong's big enough to stand up to China in a war.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of where I'm going with this.
Like
watching Mike Tyson beat up Urkel.
Yeah. 2016, pro-democracy opposition leaders thrown out of Hong Kong Parliament for insulting China when swearing their oaths. So these guys go in to promote democracy in Parliament and essentially, say some anti-China things, and they are kicked out of the Hong Kong Parliament. So, and there's a video of it too, and you can find that on YouTube. If you type in 2016 Hong Kong Parliament. 2017, 5 Hong Kong booksellers whose material is sold in mainland China disappear. Just gone. 2018, 5 Hong Kong booksellers thrown out of Hong Kong Parliament for insulting China when swearing their oaths. So these guys go in to promote democracy in Parliament and essentially, say some anti-China things, and they are kicked out of the Hong Kong Parliament. So, and there's a video of it too, and you can find that on YouTube. If you type in 2016 Hong Kong Parliament. So then that brings us to 2018. This is a small event. Really small. Really tiny event.
How
that
small?
happens. A man and his wife go on vacation.
Okay.
The man learns his wife is pregnant with another man's baby. They go on vacation to Taiwan. He kills her very violently.
In
which I won't
Taiwan?
get into the details. Yeah, in Taiwan. He
Okay.
kills her in Taiwan.
Okay.
Comes back, or goes back to Hong Kong, and is in Hong Kong for 2 or 3 days, and confesses to murdering her.
Now, does Hong Kong... I know China doesn't recognize Taiwan as a real country.
Hong Kong recognizes Taiwan as a real country, but does not have any extradition laws or agreements between Hong Kong and Taiwan.
So since it didn't happen on Hong Kong soil, did they move into charges? Or?
So, since it didn't happen on Hong Kong soil, he cannot be charged with the murder of his wife.
Okay.
Unless he's extradited to Taiwan. However, he did take his wife's cards, credit cards, Visa cards, and withdraw $20,000. That's USD. $20,000 worth of money.
Would that fall under international law?
And no.
Really?
Because he found her card in her flat in Hong Kong.
Okay.
So he went back to her apartment, basically took money from her, and then went out and spent that.
So they got him on theft and fraud.
They got him on money laundering because he spent the money and sold the stuff he got with the money.
Wow. They really reached for that one.
Yeah.
Well,
so,
typically, in a situation like that, if you steal your girlfriend's credit card or whatever, and then buy a bunch of shit, and then hawk the shit or whatever, you'll get fined, and she'll sue you, and the whole thing, would just be a mess anyway. But money laundering, usually when they go for that, that's like in the U.S. at least, that's some mob shit.
Yeah. So it's not as big a deal in Hong Kong as it is here.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So the defense, not his defense, the prosecutor pled with the court to include the murder as a predecessor or precursor to the money laundering, because that's a way to get around it not happening on Hong Kong soil, but still being charged with it as an event leading up to the event that happened on Hong Kong soil.
Well, it depends on what trial he was having. Was he having the trial on the money laundering, or was he having the trial
He was just having a trial to see what he was getting charged with, because they were charging him with something.
Okay.
So their court system is a little different than ours.
Okay.
So the court said no, that they weren't going to do that. And on April 29th of 2019, he was sentenced to 29 months with 13 months served.
Yeah, their sentencing is about the same as ours.
For money laundering?
No, God, no. God, that's a misdemeanor here. that type of time, that's you couldn't afford a good lawyer and you jaywalked.
Yeah. Yeah, so 13 months served, because after he confessed, they arrested him and they detained him until the trial on April 29th of 2019.
See, the reason I bring up the international law thing is because I'm pretty sure that whatever creditor they used for the credit cards, Visa, MasterCard, American Express, what have you, I'm pretty sure they're nationwide and actually have agreements with, I would assume, everybody in the UN, like whoever would.
Yeah, I don't know exactly how that works. Just that was all he was charged with, was money laundering on Hong Kong soil, and he got 19 months. So he has 16 months left. Something about he'll probably get out before that, due to maybe good behavior or their version of.
Yeah.
But either way, he's not going to spend very long in prison. So, in February of 2019, so while all this is going on, while this trial is going on and they're trying to figure out this situation, and Taiwan wants him back, but there's no extradition treaty, there's nothing, there's no precedence for it. So they start working up this law.
I wonder if they do an extradition treaty in the next year. By the time he gets out of one, and then they extradite him to Taiwan.
They had to have had it finished by the sentencing.
Oh, okay.
So that would essentially be being tried for the same crime twice.
No, I know what you're talking about. That's double jeopardy.
Yeah.
But he never got charged for the murder.
Right.
He just
didn't
got
get
charged for the
murder.
embezzling
He just
part.
got charged for the money laundering.
The money laundering. So at that point, he never had a murder trial.
Mm-hmm.
So what's to stop them from if they do have a treaty, because that wouldn't be double jeopardy.
Yeah, you're right. It wouldn't be double jeopardy.
Thank you,
It
Fracture. I
wouldn't be-
learned so much from you.
It wouldn't be double jeopardy. This article I read from the South China Morning Post said that the bill would have to be passed before he was sentenced. It doesn't go in to say why or anything like that.
Almost makes you wonder if it falls under one of Hong Kong's bylaws or one of their I don't know. We have the Constitution here, so whatever their version of it is.
Yeah, they have something called Article 23, I think.
Okay.
They're articles of rights, essentially. I think Barry's on that. So yeah, that's what kicked off this whole thing. Shit's been going on forever with Hong Kong, but where we're at now, so this murder happens and they start working on this bill for extradition. Now in 2019, they roll out what's called the Fugitive Offenders Ordinance. And this is to establish a mechanism for transfers of fugitives not only for Taiwan, but also for mainland China and Macau, which
that sounds like a
currently
slippery
excluded.
slope. That
And
sounds
that
like a
is-
really slippery slope.
So there has never been, so since 1997 or even before that, never has Hong Kong extradited someone to China for crimes.
Well, the thing is you have to look at the laws that Hong Kong has versus the laws that China has.
Yeah,
So
and that's why.
Yeah.
However, China has extradited a few criminals to Hong Kong for prosecution.
Yeah, probably to get them out of their country. They ain't want to fuck with it. They're just like, fucking take them. We're just going to kill them anyway, so.
So the basic law of the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region of the People's Republic of China is basically
That's
their
why I
constitution.
couldn't remember it.
Yeah.
Too many words. It's funny you call it the People's Republic of China because that's actually what our Constitution founded this country on, essentially, is a republic. Not a democracy, not a oligarchy, not a communist. It was a republic.
Yeah, and if you look at the way our electoral college is set up, it's very republic. Like it's meant to represent a republic.
Does China have electoral college?
Hong Kong has electoral college.
Hong Kong does?
Yeah.
You know what?
China is ran by they're not a republic either.
Well, obviously. That's like saying, yeah, the Ukraine, it's a republic. Okay.
Yeah. But Hong Kong does have an electoral college. But we'll get into that when we get into some comparisons.
Okay. So I'm very curious.
So how many articles of rights or whatever are listed on that? Is there like 23 or does it list like the rights and stuff that they have?
Article 23 requires Hong Kong to enact laws on its own to prohibit acts including treason, succession, sedition, subversion against the central people's government, and theft of state secrets.
So Article 23 is the article that they protested against in 2003.
It kind of does read like our Constitution, though. Like, if you read our Constitution, it says the rights of the federal government is few and defined.
Yeah.
And it mentions pretty much bribery and treason as like, or bribery of other nations and treason, and it was really interesting because the thing is in the U.S., the president has pretty much any order or power over anything internationally, like how we deal with other countries.
Yeah.
But when it comes to domestic, it's supposed to be left more up to the states. At least that's what I got from it.
Yeah.
So this is like, kind of sounds like was it the Patriot Act?
Yeah.
Like if they decide that they think you're a terrorist, they can do whatever the fuck.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. We actually had the Fourth Amendment before that. That was like protected us against illegal search and seizure, which is why you always, you got a warrant for that. But don't worry, the Patriot Act made sure to take care of that, so we don't have to worry about, stupid things like the Fourth Amendment.
Yeah. Does it say anything about 2003 in there?
This had led to public outcry and resulted in massive demonstrations where it is estimated that over 500,000 people took to the streets.
Yeah. And if you watch some of these protests in Hong Kong, like, I know Hong Kong's smaller and the streets are smaller, but, like, there's, like, something inspiring about it. Just all of these people getting together and rallying and, like, being a part of something larger. And the videos, I was just fucking astounded by
Well,
them.
you don't see that here.
No, we haven't seen that since March on Washington, probably. That was probably our last big, great protest.
That level of unity made them throw out their Patriot Act.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would, I don't know. I would say it was probably the Civil Rights March is the only time I've ever, or probably the last time I've seen it.
But that was the March on Washington, right? Martin Luther King. Is that not the same thing?
It might be. Hell, I don't know. I just want to be.
Now we do sound like jackasses.
I don't give a fuck. Hey, public education. That's what you get. You get what you pay for.
The March on Washington was half as many people as the Article 23 protest.
Oh, wow. All right, so we're going to take a quick second. We're going to cut to a segment called Dugbert at the Movies.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the premiere episode of Dugbert Does Movies, or Doug on Movies. Two Dougs, one movie. We don't know, and we'll never know. But that's the beauty of this podcast.
That's right, Doug. We're not even a real podcast. We're just interjected on Dadcast.
Doug, I'm pretty sure they don't want us to call it that. I'm pretty sure it's just supposed to be Drafty After Dark.
Yeah, but when do we ever listen to anyone?
Touche, brother. That's why we're 2 divorces deep.
We don't talk about real stuff.
Do you like movies? Have you seen a lot of movies? Me neither. But we're here to talk about them today.
That's right, Doug. Welcome to Two Dougs, One Movie.
Thanks, Doug. With me, as always, is my co-host, Doug.
Thanks for having me, Doug. How are you doing today?
Pretty good. Pretty freaking good. All right. So the premise is this. Doug
And Doug.
are going to review a movie. This is a movie we haven't seen, or maybe we have seen, but we probably haven't seen it because we don't watch a lot of movies.
We don't really like to get out much. There's people out there. We don't really care for those things.
Again, not a topic for this podcast. So let's just jump right in. I'm going to reach in our grab bag of movies. And the first movie we're going to review is...
My Best Friend's Girl, unrated.
Okay, now this movie is a very crude, lewd, rude, and very, very funny movie starring Dane Cook, Kate Hudson, Jason Biggs, and Alec Baldwin.
Alec Baldwin, fourth billed.
Of course, this is the movie that launched Dane Cook's career in mainstream media.
Fun fact, did you know he was actually considered for the role of Captain America?
Yeah, that would have been a weird thing. All right, so in, what is this called again? My Best Friend's Girl. It is the wildest sex comedy of the year, which was the year of 1642.
That's right, not a lot of raunchy stuff coming out then.
You're so edgy, Doug. All right. Stand-up sensation Dane Cook is Tank Turner, the Romeo of Raunch. All right. Oh god, this is terrible. Only Tank would dream of a nice girl in what? This doesn't even make sense. All right, guys, this is what the movie's about. Dane Cook sees Goldie Hawn's daughter, and he's like, dude, I want to be in that Overboard remake. So he's like, I'm going to seduce her. And he's like, well, who do I get to help me seduce her? That dude that fucked a pie.
But turns out Goldie Hawn's daughter's dad is Alec Baldwin, and he's still reeling from that whole Beetlejuice thing because he wasn't invited to the remake.
Yeah, so obviously he's like, I'm not letting Dane Cook put his shit in my daughter. So a bunch of hilarious things pop up, and oh shit, it's his best friend's girl. Dane Cook and Jason Biggs are best friends, and like Jason Biggs is dating Kate Hudson.
But Jason Biggs is secretly a homosexual with an older lover, not level. We'll edit that out.
Probably not. All right. So the older lover, Alec Baldwin. It's pretty much like that one Jack Nicholson movie with Diane Keaton and her daughter, which I think was played by Diane Wiest. I don't know. Okay, so anyway, back to the movie. A bunch of things happen. And oh, there's a girl with red hair on here. I don't know who that is. And some strippers. But Kate Hudson is Kate Hudson a stripper?
All right, new pitch. Jason Biggs is dating a stripper. She's Kate Hudson.
Here's the twist. The stripper has a heart of gold. And Dane Cook's really into that kind of thing. So they hit it off. Jason Biggs goes and sleeps with the chick from Orange is the New Black.
But not the one that went to jail.
And they all have a bunch of babies, and it's a prequel to Look Who's Talking. So tune in next time for Two Dogs, One Movie.
Pretty sure it's called The Ghost of the Movies.
It doesn't really matter. This is never going to see the light of day. Thank you, and have a great day.
All right, and we're back. Hope you enjoyed Doug Bird at the Movies, regardless of what Doug called it. We're going to run down some facts about Hong Kong and kind of compare it to the closest thing that we thought it seemed like, which was New York City. Wolf?
Earlier you
Go
said Hong Kong isn't even as big as New York. Hong Kong is a little bit bigger than New York City.
Population size or landmass size?
The square mileage.
Oh.
Yeah. New York City's like 306 point something, I think, and Hong Kong is 420 something, I think.
Well, what's the population then?
The population of Hong Kong, according to a 2017 census, is 7.3 million. Population in New York City is 8.6 million.
So they're roughly the same by the time you add in the square footage. No? Because
No.
Hong Kong's bigger, right?
Yeah, the population
Mileage-wise?
density is higher in New York City because the land's smaller, more people.
Well, by your logic, that means their economy should be better, right?
I mean, I don't know about by my logic.
You just said it. You said the biggest problem in the U.S. is the size of land mass. So
Well,
essentially,
that-
since New York has a smaller land mass,
No.
I'm going with what you said. Nope.
In total,
Yeah,
I
start
think a lot of the
backpedaling.
problems that we have in America is based on how large it is.
So let's apply that theory to the land density of Hong Kong and the land density of New York.
Okay. Where you want to start?
Same thing everybody starts. Let's start with the income.
Income. All right. Minimum wage, Hong Kong, U.S. dollars, $4.78.
Wow.
Yeah. New York City, $15 minimum wage.
Damn.
That is for companies that employ more than 11 people.
So what's the cost of living then, I wonder?
I couldn't find a appropriate total, but we have two examples here.
Okay.
Here in Indiana, Marlboro cigarettes, $6.
Okay.
Hong Kong, $8. New York City, $14.
Whoa! I'm starting to see where they get their $15 minimum wage from.
Yeah, you spend almost an hour working for a pack of cigarettes.
No shit.
2 movie tickets in Indiana, $18, roughly estimated. Hong Kong, $26. New York City, $33. Are you ready for this, though?
I'm ready.
Hong Kong has a 17% tax on income,
Okay.
and that is the only tax that citizens pay.
Huh. That really ups the purchasing power of their, $4.75 an hour?
Yep.
Oh, yeah, because I know New York has all sorts of taxes.
Yeah.
And all sorts of manufacturing taxes on top of that.
Yeah. New York City is a 37% tax, not just on your income. That is overall. That's what you're going to pay in sales tax, local income, state income, federal, and Social Security.
Well, this
Doesn't include property tax if you manage to own property in New York City.
if you can afford it.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, the thing is with sales tax is it's being taxed. What's the sales tax? As
4.5%.
okay, so essentially you're losing a 30-year check off the bat.
Yeah.
So out of the 60, okay, so you get taxed for every dollar you make, you get to keep 66 cents of it.
Yep.
Of that 66 cents, you lose another 4% on top of it.
Yep. For everything that you purchase,
So
or for every dollar that you spend.
okay, so for every dollar you spend. So essentially you lose so you lose 4% or 4.5% on $66 essentially.
Yeah.
That would be what? So you're paying $2.97 in sales tax essentially.
You mean for every $15 you spend?
Or for every $66, I'm sorry.
Oh, for every $66.
The price of cigarettes in Kentucky went down 24%.
It almost makes you wonder. All right, so cigarettes are made in Kentucky and Virginia, and so it's probably
Right.
a lot cheaper as opposed to once you start shipping them other places.
Yeah.
So I almost wonder if the price of cigarettes in Hong Kong is just over. They have to boat them over, so it raises it a couple bucks as opposed to walking it up
Right.
states.
But how fucking close is New York City to Virginia?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, you were talking about by the time you add in the sales tax, that's 4.5% on everything you spend. So you knock it off the original
So you got 33.5.
33.5
Or 32.5.
32.5
Yeah.
of how much they take. Okay. So by the time you spend the money, you actually lose an extra percentage on top, or an extra 0.5% on your money. So you're losing an extra 50 cents on the dollar due to it being sales tax as opposed to income tax.
Yeah.
So you're looking at somewhere along the range of you're able to keep 62.5% of the money you actually make
Yeah.
versus a max out.
Yeah, a max.
A max
so a
out.
top tax bracket in Hong Kong for income tax is 17%.
Huh.
And there is not a single tax other than that applied to the citizens. Now you have corporate taxes, and
Is it
those are
just one?
16.5%. Also, just a single tax.
Hmm.
Top out, 16.5%.
So it makes you wonder, now dollar amount, as the dollar amount goes, you're essentially, since we're dealing with minimum wage, you're essentially keeping just over half. So you're bringing home $9 an hour. So even by that standard, you would be making double in New York.
Yeah.
So,
But also, let's take into consideration that, minimum wage is there so companies can't take advantage of the labor.
yeah.
So I couldn't find a percentage of how many companies actually pay minimum wage. But all we have to do, I mean, here in Indiana.
Oh, I'm sorry.
is-
That's an entry-level job. We'll just clear that up right off the bat.
yeah. We'll walk into
Well, it's
almost
so
any
weird.
of these stores
It's
and
so
they're going to pay
weird.
minimum wage.
Okay, so you're making half of what you would make in New York. You know, and this is, like I said, we're just going off the minimum wage. You're making half of what you make in New York. How are these people going to pay their health bills or their medical bills?
Oh, so you have two options for healthcare in Hong Kong.
Oh, one corporation versus the other?
No, you have free healthcare.
What?
Yeah, free,
In Hong Kong?
In Hong Kong, free government-provided healthcare. Or, if you do need more coverage than what that covers, there are premium options to get premium insurance.
So they essentially have Medicare and Obamacare.
Yes.
Hmm.
But the free healthcare, there's no restrictions or requirements. It's
Oh,
just
so
everyone has it.
Oh, so you can just walk in and be like, yeah,
Yeah. I mean, you apply for it, you get a number, you have to be registered for it. And it is mandatory. It is mandatory that you have insurance in Hong Kong. But that's also partially because it's free.
God damn, I bet their insurance companies are making hand over fist over there, price gouging everything.
So here's the thing about that. Their health insurance companies are nonprofits.
So it's not Obamacare.
No, not quite.
No, it's really not. That's so weird. Well, let's go to the thing we were talking about earlier. Let's go to the college thing. How's their education system looking?
School is free. Not college. Primary school is free for 12 years. So similar structure in that to ours, except for our public school isn't free. There are
Well,
private.
it's paid for by our property taxes that they don't have.
Well, I mean, even then, like parents have to pay for their kids to like enroll and pay for books and stuff like that.
They nickel and dime you is what it is.
Yeah. So their education system is free. And then secondary school isn't free, but it's also not expensive to the point to where ours is. It's like a third or something of the cost going to private school there.
Oh, okay.
Or secondary school is what it's called. So, but free public school.
Off of your maxed out at 17%.
Yeah.
That's so weird.
17% tax. So Hong Kong doesn't sound like it's doing too bad. Now, I would
It sounds
also
like they got a flat tax.
It's not quite flat. It's 17% top out, so it is tiered based on how much you make.
Gotcha.
But and then the corporate tax is the same.
Yeah.
It's 16.5 tiered on how much is brought in.
It almost makes you wonder how much government subsidies they hand out.
Yeah, I don't know.
You know, to like, well, in America, you know, if you don't like a product and you're like, well, I'm just not going to buy it, and the company will go out of business. If the government decides they're too big to fail, they'll bail them out, and then it's like, but I don't even like this company.
Yeah.
But my tax dollars are going towards it.
Yeah.
So ridiculous.
It's nonsense. Poverty level in Hong Kong, though, is 19.9%, and in New York City it is 17.3%.
I'm actually kind of curious. You were talking about okay, so how do their elections work? I'm kind of curious.
Okay,
now.
so
Move more into the political side of things.
they have had 4 chief executives.
What the fuck is a chief executive?
That is their top-tier leadership of their country.
What?
Yep.
What type of capitalist ass corporate shit are they running here?
So they've had 4. The way the terms work is it's a 5-year term and 2-term limit.
Okay.
So they've had 4 since 1997. Currently, Carrie Lam, I don't know if I'm saying that wrong, sorry. Carrie Lam is the 4th and current chief executive of Hong Kong. This is a woman. Hong Kong
Is more forward thinking than the U.S.
in 10 years of freedom has elected, or 10 years, exactly 10 years later of freedom and independence from the UK and from China, has elected a female chief executive.
Now let's be fair here.
Mm-hmm.
because everybody likes to play identity politics in the U.S. Just because they're a woman doesn't mean they're the best candidate. And I think that's what a lot of people kind of came to the conclusion in the last election.
Yeah, no, for sure.
So I just want to underline.
We need a strong female candidate to run, and then she'll probably win.
Yeah?
We hope.
Well, I don't think anybody gives a damn if it's male or female. It's like, well, what are you going to do?
I think a lot of people give a damn
No, they
if it's a
don't.
male or a female.
No, they don't. That's why we have the Electoral College to kind of even shit out. The
So,
only people who give a damn if it's male or female is people who don't want to feel guilty about, well, I guess we'll put another man in charge, or people who are pissed off because
Or-
we need a woman in charge.
or people who are sexist and don't believe a woman could run the country.
Yeah,
There are
again,
definitely those people.
like I said,
So, yeah. So speaking of Electoral College, Hong Kong operates on a Electoral College of 1,200 participants. That number keeps rising. In 97, when the first one was held, it was 400, and then it went to 600, and now it's at 1,200.
I'm actually surprised they just don't go by popular vote.
Yeah, I would think maybe with the way everything else is set up that they would do that, and you don't have all these different areas. You just have you have Hong Kong.
Yeah.
That's all you have.
Yeah.
And I feel like in that situation, it would make more sense to do the popular vote. But they don't. But I think part of the reason for that is also they can only elect the candidate out of a chosen pool. And
Like
these,
the primaries here?
yeah, kind of. Except for not everyone can run. So, like, just because you're Joe Smo or whatever who has a ton of money.
So what's the prerequisites of being able to run as chief executive of Hong Kong?
You basically have to be chosen. You have to be picked from a council that is made up of corporate heads.
Huh. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to take a look at what capitalism looks like, this is it.
Yes. We, after learning, and I still got a lot to go. There's still a lot more that I want to dive into with this Hong Kong thing. But after learning what I've learned thus far, we are not as capitalistic as people say that we are.
We never were. I mean, we were, but we haven't been in a long time. What's funny is it almost makes you wonder if this is what the forefathers had in mind.
Yeah.
Because a lot of them were capitalists.
Yeah,
a lot of
for
them
sure.
were like just
Freedom of industry.
Yeah, freedom of industry. Let all hell run loose. But these are also the same people who said that minimum wage was oppressing.
Yeah.
So what's interesting to me, it almost makes you wonder if our forefathers were living here and now, if they would have wrote essentially what Hong Kong goes by.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's an interesting thought.
And they still figured out how to fucking do healthcare.
Yeah, I don't think it's
Call
too
me
far
crazy.
off. No, I'm with you. So we got a lot going on with this Hong Kong situation. I don't feel like we covered enough. So we're gonna do a part 2 next week. And next week we're gonna focus on kind of some of the fallout of what's been going on with the Hong Kong situation and the protests. We've actually had quite a few companies in America. Surprise, surprise.
It's all right. Don't worry. They're going to pay 0 in federal tax and get a return.
Yeah. We've had quite a few companies disavowing the protests and their employees getting in trouble for speaking out and backing the protests. There was a particular Blizzard event that happened, and we'll dive into that more next week. The NBA, there's a lot going on with the NBA.
Nobody gives a shit about the NBA.
China does.
They're the only ones.
There's
Nobody else gives a damn.
Yeah, there's definitely some Apple stuff too, and there's a couple other companies, but I can't think of them off the top of my head. A lot going on as far as businesses kind of speaking their piece on the situation. There's also a bill that got passed in the Senate that we'll talk about next week. As far as where the U.S. stands with the whole Hong Kong protests and China situation. We're also going to do a TV episode review next week. We're going to rewatch Banned in China, South Park's third episode of this season, and we're gonna review that and talk about that a little bit as it kind of plays a part in all this.
Can I roll the dice, because I don't know what's going on in this country as far as how our government looks at the protesters, but I do have a very rough outline on how our federal government is doing on this wonderful trade deal that's going to be so terrific, and we do have the best negotiator.
I don't think that this trade deal has anything to do with the bill that was passed that says that we will back Hong Kong with these protests if China interferes.
Well, the thing is
I just don't think our foreign policy can't possibly be affected
well, of course not.
by the amount of money that China has to offer.
Of course not. And we're the biggest consumer. We have a booming economy, folks.
Yeah.
It's terrific.
It's gonna be huge. It's gonna be great.
It's gonna be terrific. This deal is gonna be the greatest deal ever made.
I have one request.
Huh?
With this deal, I need Howie Mandel to present it.
Howie Mandel?
Yeah.
From Bobby's World?
From Deal or No Deal.
Oh. Well, the deal's going to be terrific, folks. Don't worry about it. It's going to be terrific.
All right, Wolf, you got anything else?
Oh, my gosh. I'm just going to start ranting about God knows what, so probably not.
The plug sheet. All right, you can follow Drafty Quarters Productions at DraftyQ on the Twitter and Instagram. Find us on YouTube, Drafty Quarters Podcast Network. Facebook is Drafty Quarters Productions. And you can become a patron on Patreon. Search for
Patreon!
at Drafty Quarters Productions. We have a couple tiers up right now, but our $1 tier is going to be our first tier that gets content, and that should be coming to you by the end of the month. Email us, draftyq@gmail.com. And you can find various podcasts on our podcast network.
I just want to give a shout out to the DQP Does. I think Ernest Scared Stupid is one of the best movies I've ever seen in my life, and maybe at one point or another I'll do a conspiracy theory about what the movie was really about.
We'll bring that to you next week. There you go. You're on the spot. Have it done. All right. Thanks, guys, for joining us, and we hope you enjoy your drink.